What we have next comes from a young mum who goes by Akina, and ever since welcoming her first child into the world, she's been documenting everything. Being a first-time mother, it only makes sense that she'd want to hold on to every milestone involving her baby boy Ponko, from the day he was born all the way to his first playpen. Akina has been filling her page with precious moments centered around her son, but not everything has made it online, and there's a very specific reason for that. On January 29th, 2024, at roughly 2:30 in the morning, Akina was fast asleep when something in her bedroom jolted her awake. Fortunately, little Ponko had no idea what was unfolding, because what happened in that moment was genuinely unsettling. Here's the footage that was captured. It's not hard to understand why Akina hesitated to post this in the first place. Now beyond the door swinging open and shut on its own, there's something else Akina points out that pushes this whole thing into even more disturbing territory. In that moment, she saw a figure standing in the doorway that looked remarkably like her husband. The problem, he hadn't come home from work yet. He was still a few hours out, but somehow, to Akina, he appeared to be right there, just watching her from across the room. As you can see, nobody is actually standing there, yet if you pay close attention to the audio, you can make out Akina's security alarm triggering, as if someone had just entered the house. That's what sends her out of bed to silence the alarm and go after her husband, who she believed was walking away at that point. But this is where everything gets stranger, because shortly after, Akina's behavior shifts noticeably. She goes from standing completely still in the doorway to walking in stiffly and sitting down in an almost robotic way, as though something wasn't quite right with her. As it turns out though, she was simply terrified, because when she went downstairs to track down her husband, every light in the house was still off and the front door remained locked. He simply wasn't there. Shaken, she makes her way back upstairs and sits down, trying to process what she'd just experienced. If it wasn't him standing there, then who was it? Even though some time has passed, she still finds herself going back to that night, trying to make sense of it. Until she gets some kind of answer, she plans to keep the video up while continuing to post updates about her son. For now, what happened that night has no explanation. This next clip was uploaded to Reddit by a guy who says his sister filmed the footage back in 2020 and shared it with him. In it, she's walking through a deserted hospital corridor late at night. We're never told what brought her there, but it quickly becomes clear she may not have been the only one present. Something unsettling appears to be watching her from the shadows. Pay close attention to what unfolds. A ghostly pale face with no distinguishable features is clearly visible, appearing to shift on its own. When she moves away and returns to check, there's nothing there, no object, no surface, nothing that could explain away what she saw as a trick of the eye. On top of that, while she stands still further down the hall, several strands of her hair visibly move by themselves despite her being indoors, and the figure can once again be spotted peering out at her from down the corridor. This doesn't appear to be a case of pareidolia, considering the face showed up on 2 separate occasions and her hair moved without any obvious cause. Given that this is a hospital, a place with no shortage of tragedy, and lost the idea that something paranormal was lurking at the far end of that hallway, isn't exactly hard to believe. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. On the night of August 14th, 2022, a small paranormal channel went live and made their way out to an abandoned manor they'd visited once before, a location they referred to as Oaks and Hares Manor, and by the time the night was over, they were certain that whatever dwelled inside had made an attempt on their lives. This time around, they came prepared, bringing upgraded equipment including a new microphone and a camera flash they were counting on to finally reveal what lurked in those walls. They entered around midnight, already unsettled, because during their previous visit something had made itself known, and they had a gut feeling it hadn't left.
Ты можешь выйти с нами на связь?
Ладно, поднимемся.
Нет, здесь что-то есть, по-любому.
Твой, слышишь?
Да.
Как будто бы.
Здесь?
Да. То ли с улицы.
Я слышу. Слышу я.
Не понимаю, откуда.
The first thing that stopped them dead in their tracks was a toy. It was positioned right at the entrance, somewhere it absolutely had not been during their last visit, which left only 2 explanations. Either someone had entered the building since then, or something had deliberately placed it there for them to discover. One of the guys caught a glimpse of a face near the doorway from his peripheral vision, the kind of thing you sense before your eyes even register it, and he described the goosebumps shooting all the way down his spine. They pressed forward regardless, settling in at a table to conduct a session, and breaking out a spirit box in hopes of getting whatever was present to communicate.
Мы последний раз внизу связывались.
Давай тогда разместимся где-нибудь сейчас.
Угу. Что?
Ты ее не ложил тут?
Нет еще.
Его тут не было?
Не было. Блин, ты рукой показал, увидел я его и вообще.
Здесь есть кто-нибудь? Его не было в прошлый раз.
Не, есть возможность, что приезжал кто-то еще. помимо нас. Ну, выглядит, конечно, это, знаешь, страшно так прямо на заходе.
Да, именно типа.
For a stretch, it was mostly dead air and strange static, the device refusing to produce anything intelligible, so they continued making their way through the manor, repeating the same questions on a loop. Is anyone here? Are you from the world of the dead? And gradually the building began responding in its own fashion. Chairs they had left neatly in place were suddenly displaced and facing random directions. Faint sounds kept drifting in from rooms nobody was occupying. When one of them triggered the camera flash, he was convinced he caught something moving through the frame visible for barely a moment before it vanished.
Что это было, блин? Ох, что нам делать?
Кого казнили? Тебя? Я не ухожу, я здесь.
Then the focus shifted away from the environment and onto them personally. The presence grew more intense, more aggressive, displacing objects with greater force. And one of the crew came to a chilling realization about what was actually going on. This thing wasn't simply trying to frighten them, it was actively trying to make them harm themselves. On the 7th of June 2026, a young excavator operator found himself working the night shift deep inside a dense forest, somewhere in Asia. The location alone would be enough to put anyone on edge, but things get far more unsettling when you consider that he had absolutely no one around him. Nothing but the machine's headlights cutting through the darkness. As he pushed further into the forest, he spotted something strange lurking between the trees and swung his camera toward it to get a better look. Barely visible against the pitch-black surroundings, a woman in a white dress with long dark hair is seen standing motionless among the trees. What makes it even more disturbing is that she doesn't react at all, no movement, no flinching, just standing there completely still, almost as though she's waiting for him to approach. In the description he left on the video, the operator himself states that he's convinced he recorded something from beyond the natural world. And the story only gets more chilling from there, because that region is home to an old local legend called the Kuntilanak, a supernatural entity said to take the form of a woman in a white dress with long black hair. Whether what he filmed was truly something otherworldly or just a person standing alone in the woods in the dead of night, that question still has no answer. Something genuinely unsettling was recorded during a freak weather event at Lake Tahoe on June 20th, 2025. This particular clip stood out from a whole collection of strange footage, largely because of how dramatically the conditions changed before anything remotely paranormal even showed up, at least according to the person behind the camera. The morning had begun under perfectly clear skies, warm and bright in the way you'd expect from a typical summer day out by the water. Then, within the span of about 10 minutes, everything changed completely, flipping from full sunshine into actual snowfall, the kind of jarring, disorienting transition that would have been more than enough reason to start recording on its own. But it's within that same window of bizarre weather that something else entirely makes an appearance. A dark entity, looking less like anything solid and more like a shadow figure, can be seen rising up from behind a cluster of bushes alongside a mini golf course. Rather than moving the way a person would, it tears across the area at what witnesses have described as something close to superhuman speed, covering the entire length of the course in a fraction of the time any normal person could manage on foot. That speed is genuinely what sets this clip apart from most shadow figure recordings out there. It isn't slowly drifting or hovering in place long enough to get a good look at it. Launches forward in a sudden burst, covering the distance almost instantaneously before vanishing from the frame altogether, leaving nothing behind except an empty mini golf course and the strange, snow-dusted air hanging over from that sudden atmospheric shift. Neither half of what this footage captured comes with any satisfying explanation. Not the rapid, inexplicable flip from sunshine to snowfall in mere minutes, and certainly not the shadow figure that emerged from those bushes and blazed across the course at a speed no human being should realistically be capable of reaching. All that remains is the recording itself, documenting both the strange weather and whatever it was that passed through it that afternoon. This unsettling story started when a content creator, known as Kafkarul, began dealing with recurring disturbances inside his house. Night after night, he found himself jolted awake at precisely the same time, 2:17 a.m., by strange sounds that appeared to be coming from the basement door at the far end of his hallway. Because the disruptions kept occurring at almost the exact same hour each night, he eventually mounted a camera in the hallway to figure out what was behind the noise.
Hello? Who's there? Oh my god! Oh my god!
When the footage started rolling, the hallway appeared completely undisturbed. Nobody was present, yet faint sounds something between scraping and light thumping could be heard emanating from the other side of the basement door, almost as though something was shifting around in there and interfering with the lock. The door itself never swung open on its own, but Kafkarul grew increasingly convinced that whatever was on the other side was trying to get through. He chose not to open it that night, and instead put the decision to his audience. The vote came back with 57% urging him to open it, so he returned to the basement door and hit record as he reached for the handle.
You wanted me to open this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No. Who is that? Oh, shit! Hello?
The moment the door swung open, another sound came from somewhere in the darkness beyond. The room was completely unlit, and nothing was visible. But the noise was striking enough to make Kafkarul freeze and listen. Then, without warning, something black shot out of the basement. It was a cat, a black one. The animal could very plausibly account for the scraping, banging, and other sounds that had been coming from behind that door. Still, one detail continued to nag at him. Why did these disturbances seem to occur at almost exactly 2:17 a.m.? Every single time? After the cat bolted, he worked up the nerve to head downstairs and sweep the entire basement. His flashlight passed over shelving units, stacked belongings, and bare concrete floor. Nothing unusual turned up, no indication that anything suspicious had been lurking down there.
What the f-
But just as the inspection wrapped up, something odd happened. The basement door, which he had left standing open, had somehow swung shut by the time Kafkarul turned back toward the staircase. The camera footage offered no clear answer as to when or how it had moved. Logically speaking, an uneven hinge, a draft, or vibrations traveling through the structure could all explain a door drifting closed on its own. There's also a reasonable chance the cat nudged it on its way out, which would tie most of the earlier sounds back to the animal as well. And yet, the fact that those disturbances struck at almost exactly the same minute each night remains the most difficult detail to explain away. So was the black cat truly behind everything? Or was there something else down in that basement that never got found? A video posted to Instagram shows a construction worker who showed up early one morning at a house he'd been renovating. He was expecting a routine, uneventful shift. The building looked deserted at least. That's what he assumed. But the moment he walked through the door, he picked up on a faint, unsettling sound. He moved toward it to investigate, completely unaware of what he was walking into. Out of nowhere, a door nearby began to swing open on its own, as though an invisible presence had just passed through it. The worker's nerves kicked in immediately, and he pulled out his phone to start filming. He gathered himself and edged into the room to get a better look. That's when things took a sharp turn. The attic door came crashing shut with a violent bang, as if someone on the other side had yanked it closed with full force. Shaken but not deterred, the worker's curiosity got the better of him. He made up his mind to climb up and see the attic for himself. Once he pulled the attic door open and peered inside, it looked completely vacant. He called out, asking if anybody was up there. Silence. Then, the attic lights began to flicker and behave erratically. That was enough. Panic set in, and he bolted, dropping his phone behind him in the chaos. But what his camera recorded while it lay there on the floor is genuinely hard to explain away. With the man gone and the phone still running on the ground, something started moving toward it. The footage clearly shows whatever it was drawing closer and closer to the fallen device. Then, in an instant, the phone whipped around with serious force as if something had descended from the attic and deliberately shoved it. So what do you think was behind all of this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. A mother named Jennifer caught something truly frightening on her Ring doorbell camera. Late one night, Jennifer's son was hanging out with a friend at their home, chatting and playing games, when they realized it had crept past 1:30 in the morning. As his friend prepared to head home, they stepped toward the door and were met with this.
What is that?
The moment Jennifer's son swung the door open, a streetlight down the road flickered on seemingly by itself. Then, without any wind or explanation, the rocking chair sitting on their front porch began to move back and forth as though an invisible figure had taken a seat. Stranger still, a mysterious orb of light came shooting in from the left side of the frame and landed right along the side of their parked pickup truck. The two boys spotted the bizarre phenomenon and immediately blurted out, "What is that?" before scrambling back inside. To this day, neither of them has any explanation for what they witnessed that night. Not long ago, a young woman uploaded a chilling clip to her TikTok that exploded across the internet, racking up over 63 million views in almost no time at all. She's a huge fan of monkeys, so when a gift arrived at her door one day, a monkey doll, she was absolutely thrilled. But the moment she lifted the lid off that box, things took a very unsettling turn.
Oh my God, I swear to God, this thing just looked at me. Oh my fuck. Oh my God, I
Oh my God, I swear to God,
The instant the box was open, the doll's eyes shifted in a deeply disturbing way and locked directly onto her gaze. She immediately lurched backwards in shock.
Oh my God, I swear to God, this.
Here's the part that really gets you though. Even after all of that, she still has the doll sitting in her home to this day, claiming it hasn't pulled anything creepy since that first encounter. So let's be real here. If that happened to you, what would you do? Would you hold on to it? Or would that thing be out the door before you could even think twice? On the night of May 25th of this year, George Nava was heading home after a long shift, crawling through the usual late-night traffic. Nothing out of the ordinary, or so he believed. His dashcam, one of those dual-lens models that films both the road and the interior of the vehicle, picked up something in the back seat that George has been unable to make sense of ever since.
Una cámara Scariest, UFOS. Y pues no hay nadie. Y yo aquí en el carro caga.
A figure appears vaguely human in form, and the moment George spins around to look, there's nobody there. He's completely alone in that car. What makes it even more unsettling is that only the dashcam captured it. His own eyes saw nothing, and neither did his phone. When the footage made its rounds online, some viewers were quick to dismiss it as pareidolia, the mind's tendency to construct recognizable shapes out of random visual noise. But others aren't so sure, pointing to local stories of an elderly woman's ghost said to haunt that particular stretch of road, supposedly climbing into passing vehicles. So the question remains, what exactly was sharing that car with George? Prisons aren't the only locations with a reputation for paranormal activity. Forests are widely regarded as deeply unsettling places, particularly after dark. And honestly, it's not hard to understand why. There's no telling what could be hiding just beyond the tree line. One hiker from Indonesia discovered that firsthand during a late-night trek through the woods. He was making his way through the forest, filming on his phone for his followers, when he realized he'd gone off course somewhere along the way. He was trying to navigate back to the road where he'd left his vehicle. That's when he spotted something that stopped him cold. Whatever the figure is, it begins moving rapidly in his direction. The hiker lets out a scream and bolts, running as fast as his legs will carry him. He eventually found his way back to his car and made it home without further incident. Once he was safe, he posted the footage online, and the comment section absolutely exploded. The overwhelming majority of viewers were convinced that what appears in the video is a pocong. According to traditional Indonesian folklore, a pocong is the spirit of a deceased person still bound within its white funeral shroud. These entities are said to float or lurch through the air, pursuing the living wherever they go. A disturbing clip uploaded by Lancelot de Vola purports to show a terrifying find made far beneath the surface in a remote Peruvian cave. A group of explorers squeezing through the narrow underground passage were scanning the rocky walls with their flashlights when the beam landed on something strange and out of place, slumped against the earth. In total, suffocating quiet, the camera inches forward, and what emerges from the darkness is deeply unsettling. Sprawled across the cold cave floor is a pale, gaunt figure bearing an enormous head, a fragile-looking torso, and long, bony limbs that bear a striking resemblance to something not of this world. The single most disturbing detail, however, comes when the flashlight sweeps across the figure's body and one of its arms appears to move ever so slightly, hinting that whatever this thing is, it may not be dead. The footage then plunges into blackness before picking back up from a different angle. Skeptics have chalked it up to an unsteady camera or an elaborately placed prop, yet the creature's deeply unnatural proportions and the tomb-like silence surrounding it have kept the debate raging. Did these explorers accidentally stumble across some kind of wounded being concealed in the underground dark, or was the whole scene carefully constructed to fool people online? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Following clip takes place on board the Salem, a legendary Navy cruiser that now sits preserved as a floating museum in Quincy, Massachusetts. While the vessel never saw active combat, it did serve as an emergency relief ship, providing critical medical care to severely wounded civilians and Navy personnel. Over the years, countless visitors and staff members have reported unsettling experiences while on board. Seth Borden from Seth and Chase, Josh from Exploring with Josh, and paranormal investigators Stephen and Dylan from Haunted Nights all team up to explore the ship together. According to the ship's caretaker, a man named Don, one of the most frequently encountered presences on board is believed to be an old sailor the crew has nicknamed Chief.
The chief hangs out.
You think the chief is here?
Well, I think the chief hangs out in here.
Okay.
So you would say that like chief is the authoritative figure?
I would say the chief is the guardian of the ship. The chief is the man who is concerned with people disrespecting the ship and things of that nature. And when the pandemic first started and I started working at home, I let my hair was longer than yours. I mean, it was down to like the middle of my back. And every time I came aboard, the chief would yank my hair.
Oh, man.
The team decides to run an EVP session in hopes of making contact with this entity. As they call out into the dark, their recording equipment appears to pick up several deeply unsettling replies.
Speaking to this device in my hand with the blinking red light. That's an emergency turn right after I just recording that.
We are a what?
We are something. Clear as day.
Yeah.
That's so vocal too. Yeah. Dude.
We are. Oh, Ben, we are.
Oh my
crazy as ever.
What is that last word?
It's 2 syllables.
Yeah. We are.
We are alive. We are something.
Do we just sit there and try it one more time?
Yeah.
Because now we've heard them, we can tell them that we can hear you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
let's
right
bring it
there.
back. All right, I'm gonna do it again. We heard you say we are something. We can't understand you. Can you repeat yourself? We are what?
Can the chief come down here and talk to us?
Chief, if you're here watching us, can you tell us your name?
Understand you. Can you repeat yourself? We are what? Is there anyone here with us in the surgical room?
Oh my god, it did it again!
Bro, I don't even want to film. Like, if this is.
Every question.
Oh my god!
Bro, I don't want to film.
Oh my god!
Oh, we got some.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just gotta show you this. I'm never one to like show off evidence to like people until like we leave, but like I just want to show you this.
Yeah, we want like the raw reaction to this.
We've heard that.
The investigators feel they may have successfully reached the spirit known as Chief, though based on what he seems to be communicating, he's far from pleased about their presence. They then make their way to the mess hall, a sprawling section of the ship, where Chief is reportedly spotted most frequently. Armed with an Ovilus device and a second F recorder, they resume their questioning, and that's when things take a dramatically unexpected turn.
Us here. And why are you screaming?
Helpless. They're helpless.
Oh, we're helpless.
That's way worse. Some touch it.
My hair just got touched.
My hair was longer than yours. I mean, it was down to like the middle of my back. And every time I came aboard, the chief would yank my hair.
If you saw it on camera, but I felt it. Holy shit.
That one might have got it. Yeah, don't mind you.
Oh, good point. Flashlight's on.
Helpless.
Helpless. They're helpless.
Oh, we're helpless.
Much like an incident that the caretaker Don apparently experienced himself, something seems to reach out and touch Seth's hair. And that still isn't everything they managed to capture that evening. Before you see the next clip, it's worth noting that the ghost of a young girl and her mother are also believed to walk the halls of the US Salem. When the group goes back through their footage afterward, they spot something lurking in the background that nobody noticed in the moment.
Alice.
Alice?
Did you catch that? Look carefully, and you'll make out what appears to be a figure resembling a girl wearing a long skirt moving through the background.
Alice?
Alice?
Alice.
The woman's name, right after we heard Alicia's voice.
Alice?
Alice?
Alice.
Name, right after we heard Alicia's voice.
So did the team genuinely connect with Chief? And could that shadowy figure have been one of the spirits long rumored to haunt this vessel? For now, everything they recorded that night remains among the ship's most enduring mysteries. In Indonesia, a young girl named Zaina and her brother are spending time together in their bedroom while the family's home security camera silently captures everything. As the little girl moves across the floor, something appears to take hold of her. Zaina's mother, who was at work when this happened, later reviews the footage and films her own stunned reaction as she watches.
Astagfirullahaladzim. Ayah, demi Allah, kayak ada yang nyeret Jena. Demi Allah, jangan bekerja. Demi Allah. Demi Allah, kayak ada yang nyeret Jena. Bener, astagfirullahaladzim. Enggak yang benar, Syak. Nenek di depan. Jangan makin dalam, ya. Demi Allah, kayak ada yang nyeret, sumpah demi Allah. Bukan dia pergi. Abang Asli. Siapa nih? Kita enggak?
Her brother just lays there scrolling through his phone, while his sister appears to be gradually dragged beneath the bed. Zaina begins screaming, whether it's pain or sheer terror driving it is impossible to say, yet her brother barely even flinches. He eventually calls out for help, and their grandmother comes rushing in, but even she struggles to pull Zaina free. A neighbor from close by also comes in to assist, and together the two of them actually have to lift the entire bed off the floor. The grandmother finally manages to get little Zaina out and pulls her close. Their mother, whose voice can be heard on the recording in a state of complete disbelief, says she has absolutely no explanation for what happened. She is fully convinced that something dragged her daughter under that bed. But what's your take on it? On July 31st, 2022, a 17-year-old named Mackenzie Shirella was behind the wheel of a Toyota Camry in Strongsville, Ohio, accompanied by her 19-year-old boyfriend Dominic Russo and two other friends, both aged 20. According to the account laid out in the video, the relationship was deeply troubled, and she had allegedly made prior threats to deliberately crash the vehicle while passengers were inside. That evening, a heated argument reportedly erupted. From that same account, she then floored the accelerator past 160 kilometers per hour before the car left the road entirely. Two of the passengers did not survive, though Mackenzie herself walked away. The video goes on to claim that she later appeared in TikTok posts seemingly partying, showing no signs of grief or guilt. But it was the moment of her arrest that produced what many consider the most chilling detail of all, allegedly caught on a police officer's body cam.
I'm the one who's been investigating the crash. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2, okay? You're gonna watch your head going in.
I don't want going. I don't want to hurt you.
After she was seated inside the patrol vehicle, a faint voice appears to whisper the words, "She killed us." A lot of people are convinced that voice belongs to the two deceased victims, reaching out from beyond to reveal the truth. The video further states that Mackenzie was ultimately convicted on 12 criminal counts, murder among them, and handed a sentence of 15 years to life, with parole eligibility not beginning until 2037. So, was that eerie whisper nothing more than a trick of the ear, or was it something far darker? Our next piece of footage surfaced on Reddit some years back, posted by the user shown on screen. The person who uploaded it claims a woman was being transported to the Ostrog Monastery in Montenegro because those around her believed she was possessed. Beyond that, almost no additional details were given, leaving anyone who watched it to come to their own conclusions. Alleged possession cases tend to be among the most hotly debated topics in the paranormal space. Some viewers look at moments like this and see undeniable proof of something operating outside the boundaries of human understanding, while others are quick to point to medical diagnoses, psychological conditions, or severe emotional trauma as far more grounded explanations. With no information about what led up to this recording or what followed it, there's simply no way to know for certain what was truly happening. But we'd love to hear your take. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for the support. Late one night, a woman was unwinding at home while watching over her newborn. The house was quiet, and she casually swept her phone around the room. Off to the side stood an old wooden rocking chair, surrounded by scattered children's toys. For a few still seconds, nothing seemed out of place, then things took a strange turn. See for yourself what the camera picked up. With nobody anywhere near it, the chair gradually began moving back and forth on its own. Almost simultaneously, a gentle lullaby started drifting through the room, despite no toy being visible anywhere in the frame. That unsettling combination shattered the peaceful mood in an instant. A number of viewers are convinced a spirit was responsible. On the other hand, motion-activated toys hidden out of frame or a subtle air current could potentially account for what happened, though many feel the timing is far too precise to write off so easily. Regardless of what actually caused it, the clip has kept audiences deeply unsettled. Morgan, who owns and operates a bakery, grew more and more unsettled after repeatedly discovering items throughout her shop had been moved or turned up in completely wrong places. At first, she pointed the finger at her employees until her CTE footage revealed something far more disturbing.
What you're gonna see is I had to turn it sideways, but just look towards the back stairway. You'll see the Dr. Pepper can fly. There's an orb to the right, and then the skeleton falls. So here's a zoomed in Dr. Pepper can flying out of the canvas. Again, there's just a wall behind it. I know it's blurry. I apologize for the quality. Let me reverse it and you'll see the Dr. Pepper can come back. It literally comes straight out of the painting. Now, next, please look after the Dr. Pepper can falls, the orb flying up from the top left. And then the bones fall and there's an orb flying to the piano bench. And then at the bottom of the right, there's another orb that flies up. So there's 3 total orbs in this video. And it is...
Morgan points out 3 glowing orbs drifting through the bakery, a can tumbling near the staircase on its own, and what appears to be a skeletal form collapsing without any physical cause, all of it leaving her shaken and confused. Even more alarming, a can appeared to launch itself directly from a painting on the wall, with absolutely nobody nearby to have thrown it, and the activity didn't let up. Several months down the line, Morgan came forward with additional footage that was just as troubling. See for yourself what she recorded.
Screen recording on my phone. Pay attention to the guitar canvas above the couch, please. Now you may think, oh wow, somebody threw it from above. Nope. Let me zoom it in for you, pal. This is me just slowing it down with my finger. That thing is morphing out of that painting. It literally just morphs out of thin air. What do you even do with that? What am I even supposed to do with that? So, I threw the paintings away. That wasn't a good move. But please tell me I'm not crazy. Please tell me you see.
A web-like tendril suddenly shoots out from inside a guitar canvas and hangs in the open air, while the painting itself ripples, warps, and shifts in ways that defy any obvious explanation. Morgan had no answer for where this object was coming from, or how it was moving.
It's my worst nightmare. And I'm like, guys, Harry literally just morphed a spiral bow out of this painting. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And I'm shook. I can't be there. I'm like, guys, close the store. I'm pretty sure we closed the store for now.
The footage gives no clear timeline for when all of this first started, nor does it offer any reason why it's happening. What Morgan does believe, firmly, is that the building is haunted, and these recurring incidents have only reinforced that conviction. Viewers who weighed in had their own theories. Since the objects kept appearing from the paintings, many felt the canvases themselves were at the center of it all. Some connected the roaming orbs to a supernatural presence, or perhaps the spirits of people who once died within those walls, while others went further and proposed that the paintings themselves function as portals to another realm entirely. As of now, the true source of these events remains completely unexplained. Jassim is a paranormal investigator based in Saudi Arabia who has gained a following by venturing into derelict structures throughout the country. What sets him apart from other investigators is that he almost exclusively operates solo. No team, no camera operator, just himself, a flashlight, and a live stream running for his viewers. Tonight he's exploring an abandoned hotel, and what he manages to capture inside could be some of the most deliberate poltergeist behavior we've ever featured on this channel.
In the name of God. In the name of God. I seek refuge in the perfect wills of God from the evil of what He created. There is no God but God. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. In the name of God. In the name of God. There is no God but God. I seek refuge in the perfect lies of God from the evil of what He created. I seek refuge. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. There is لا إله إلا الله. No. There is no God but God. In the name of God.
That wooden door is repeatedly swinging open and crashing shut, with no one anywhere close to it. Now Jassim does something clever here. Rather than just watching from his current position, he takes the long way around through a connecting hallway so he can observe that same door from the other side. And it hasn't stopped. Still moving, still slamming, with absolutely no one on either side. Then he decides to put it to the test. As the door swings open, he gives it a gentle kick and walks straight through the frame, and there's nothing there whatsoever, just dead silence. Then, the moment he turns to continue deeper into the building, that door crashes shut right behind him. As Jasim pushes further in, sounds begin closing in from every direction, not from any single point, but from all around him at once.
Do you guys hear that sound? Where is that tapping coming from? In the name of God. In the name of God. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. There is no God but God. I seek refuge in the perfect words of God from the evil of what He has created. I seek refuge in the perfect words of God from the evil of what He has created. In the name of God, with whose name nothing can cause harm, on earth or in heaven, and He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. I protect myself with there is no God but God. Do you hear that? In the name of God. In the name of God. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I seek refuge in the perfect words of God from the evil of what He has created. I protect myself with there is no God but God.
He enters another room, and the door leading out to the patio suddenly slams shut on its own, with no one anywhere near it. He walks over and pulls it open to investigate. No wires attached, no one standing outside. But now, pay attention to the door he entered through. While he's standing there, with his eyes fixed directly on it, that door begins to swing shut, only this time it isn't slamming. It's slow, controlled, and deliberate. So both doors in that room made their move. The exterior one went first, and this one is easing closed right in front of him, almost as though something had calculated the sequence in advance. So, could this all just be a draft passing through an empty building? Because a draft doesn't violently slam a door one moment and then glide it softly shut the next. This following video was recorded by a teenage boy who was home alone at his grandparents' house. It was close to 3 o'clock in the morning when he says he heard what sounded like someone talking down the hallway. His grandparents were away for the weekend, leaving him alone in the house, so there shouldn't have been anyone else there. You can hear the nervousness in his voice as he slowly approaches the room, trying to convince himself there's a reasonable explanation for what he's hearing. Watch.
Okay, so it's like 3 in the morning right now, and I swear to God, I just heard someone talking down our hall, and there's no one home right now because my grandparents are out of town for the weekend. So I'm gonna go investigate. Hear that?
Something inside that room suddenly lets out a piercing, high-pitched shriek, a sound he later described as resembling a baby crying. According to him, it's a room his grandparents have always told the family to stay out of, though they've never explained why. Some viewers believe the sound came from an animal, such as a raccoon, fox, or cat, trapped somewhere inside the house. Others aren't convinced, arguing that the shriek doesn't clearly match any animal they can identify. Then there's another theory, Several viewers wondered if the reason his grandparents never allow anyone into that room has nothing to do with storage or privacy at all. Perhaps they've experienced strange things there themselves and simply chose never to talk about it. Families sometimes avoid discussing unsettling experiences, especially with younger relatives, either to protect them or to keep old stories from resurfacing. Of course, there's no evidence that's the case here, but the unexplained rule about staying out of the room has led many people to wonder whether the grandparents know far more about that part of the house than they have ever admitted. Whether the sound had an ordinary source, or whether that locked-away room holds a story that's never been shared. The one question the video leaves behind is why that room was off-limits in the first place. In this next clip, a man and his wife named Wendy are staying at the 1790 Inn in Savannah, Georgia, a hotel that bills itself as one of the most haunted locations in a city already famous for its ghosts. And from the moment they checked into their third-floor room, things started happening that neither of them could explain. The dresser was vibrating. A loud bang rang out near the fireplace while Wendy was in the bathroom, something the man described as sounding like somebody had dropped a hammer against the wall. And a picture that had been hanging straight on the wall was noticeably crooked just 15 minutes later. Then Wendy mentioned something that stopped the room cold. She'd seen the shadow on the ceiling of a spinning fan blade, the kind you see when light catches a ceiling fan mid-rotation. Except there was no fan in the room, just two empty hooks where one used to be. Watch.
Okay, so we've been getting, this is the 1790 Inn in Savannah, Georgia, and we've been getting some pretty creepy stuff happening in this room. Like I said, we're on the third floor. This is the haunted room. That's across the street there. No, wait a minute. I can't focus. The windows are fogged anyway, but that's the third floor, and I showed you that. But I'm just going to demonstrate some of the things that have happened so far, thus far. It's getting a little bit creepy. Not a little bit. It's getting a lot creepy. This table here vibrates. I've looked all over the place. I don't think that this electrical cord can make it vibrate. Yeah, we have the TV on because I just don't want it quiet in here right now. It's really creepy when it's quiet in here. So we get the vibration here. Anyway, so this is just an adjoining room door here. The fireplace right here, nothing unusual, but over here we've had a banging noise right here, like somebody literally dropped a hammer. I was here, Wendy was in the bathroom, and I did nothing to this. This picture was not this crooked. Not even 15 minutes. I don't know if you could see how crooked it is. It's pretty crooked. But anyway, now everything's getting blurry. That's cute. Alright, so, Wendy, what do you think about this crap that's happening? I mean...
Well, I don't really want to... If this keeps going on, I really don't want to stay here. I really want to leave.
Alright, well, I understand that. I'm getting a little spooked, too, but we did...
Forgot to say about what I saw up there on the ceiling.
Oh, the fan.
Yeah, there is no fan in this room, as you can see, and yet I saw at the top of the ceiling the, kind of like the shadow effect of like when a fan blade goes around and around, and then it stopped.
But just remember, we paid a lot of money for this room, so I understand.
What you're watching unfold in that night vision footage isn't subtle. The doll's lips move with a slow, fluid chewing motion, its eyelids blink, and in the static shot from the following night, its head tilts to the right, and its upper body shifts in the chair, with no one near it. But the moment that genuinely unnerves most people is the last close-up. The doll's plastic eyes, which had been flat and lifeless, appear to widen and gain focus, as if something behind them suddenly became aware. The loud bangs that follow, heard over a black screen, don't soften the landing. Some viewers think what they're seeing is a haunted object in the truest sense. A doll acting as a vessel, a container for something that attached itself to the item rather than the location. The idea of spirit attachment to objects has deep roots across cultures. In some West African and Caribbean spiritual traditions, objects are deliberately used to house entities, though the belief exists in many forms worldwide. Others are more skeptical, pointing to the possibility of a purpose-built animatronic hidden inside the doll. The movements are smooth enough to suggest mechanical components, but that explanation sits uneasily alongside Wendy's description of the phantom fan shadow and the unprompted banging, details she mentioned before anyone had even looked closely at the doll. Savannah itself carries centuries of layered history, and the 1790 Inn sits in the heart of a city where paranormal reports are practically a part of the local identity. Whether what's in that room belongs to the building or arrived with the doll is a question the footage alone can't answer. What would you do if you were Wendy? The following clips all come from the same household, or rather, a pattern of households, where young children are at the center of something their parents can't quite explain away. In the first clip, a man has just arrived home when his young son approaches him, pointing toward the bathroom and repeating one word, Papa, not to greet him, to tell him something is already there. Watch.
Vengo llegando a casa. ¿Qué pasó, papi? ¿Qué hay en la puerta? A ver, llévame. ¿Qué hay en la puerta? ¿Qué viste?
Papá.
¿Me viste a mí? ¿En dónde? ¿En el baño? ¿Ahí estoy yo?
Papá.
No hay nadie, papi. Yo acabo de llegar.
The father checks the bathroom and finds nothing. No one there, completely empty. But his son had been insisting, clearly and calmly, that he had seen his daddy standing inside, at the exact moment his actual father was still walking through the front door. That detail is what makes this so hard to dismiss. Children this age don't usually construct deliberate deceptions, and the boy's behavior wasn't frantic. It was matter of fact, the kind of certainty you'd expect from a child describing something they genuinely saw. Some believe what the child encountered could be a doppelganger, an apparition that mirrors the appearance of someone known to the witness. In folklore across many cultures, seeing a double of a living person, sometimes called a fetch in Irish tradition, has long been considered an omen rather than a random haunting, something tied specifically to the person being mimicked. Others think it's simpler than that, a child's imagination, but the calmness is the part that keeps pulling people back. In the very next clip, a young girl in the same home is being questioned by her mother about why she's scared, and her answers follow a similar pattern. Not chaos, not hysteria, but quiet, deliberate fear. Watch.
¿Otra vez? ¿Tienes miedo? ¿A qué le tienes miedo? ¿Qué es eso?
¡Monstruo!
¿Viste el monstruo? ¿Dónde está el monstruo?
¡Mayo!
¿Tú lo viste?
¡Mayo!
¿Está en el baño?
He tells his mother there's a monster, that it's in the bathroom, and then he does something that stops most viewers cold. He raises his finger to his lips and shushes. That instinct to stay quiet, to not provoke whatever is present, reads less like a child playing pretend and more like a child trying to protect himself. The parents clearly took it seriously, because by the third clip they've brought in a ghost hunting application and are filming the area their son keeps identifying. And this time, the footage catches something physical. Watch.
¿Qué es eso, papi? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Te da miedo? Sí.
Sí.
¿Quién es?
Mario.
As the child's voice says, Monstruo, a white door at the far end of the room audibly creaks and swings open on its own, revealing only darkness behind it. A door opening can always be explained. Air pressure, an uneven floor, a loose latch. But the timing, the child saying the word in the exact same breath as the door moves, is the detail that's kept this clip circulating. The Ghost app's stick figure overlay positioned near the shoe rack adds another layer for those who find such tools compelling, though skeptics point out those applications generate their readings algorithmically rather than from any verified detection method. What's harder to rationalize away is the synchronicity of the audio and the physical event. I've watched that moment a few times now, and it genuinely doesn't get easier to explain. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. The fourth clip steps away from the home and into the street. A man walking a road in Teteles de Avila Castillo, Puebla, during the day, narrating a location where he previously encountered what he describes as a fleshless face or shadow. Watch.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Miren, para seguirlos poniendo en contexto. Estoy caminando por la calle donde en mi otro video les conté, donde se me apareció la sombra, bueno, la cara descarnada. Bueno, fue justo en esta entrada. Vean, la calle es pura tracería, no hay ni alumbrado público ni nada. Es en esta entrada, atrás del segundo árbol que se ve allá. Ahora, toda esta calle está oscura de noche, ¿eh? Pero lo raro es que solo es este tramito donde venimos nosotros. No es ningún otro lado. Ahora, algo que se me hizo muy extraño en días pasados que caminé por aquí es esto. Del 3 de agosto de este año. No voy a enfocar mucho por respeto. Ahora, a mí me da que tal vez aquí pueda haber un caso, porque mucha gente habla de esta calle. A mí ya me tocó ver algo en esta calle, y unos meses después alguien muere en esta calle, prácticamente en el lugar donde yo vi algo. Está raro, vean. Pero solo es este tramito, porque llegamos aquí a la esquina y ya hay alumbrado, pero este tramito se pone, vaya, bastante oscuro. De hecho, también les voy a subir un fragmento de un video de una exploración que hice hace apenas unos días, donde me tocaba pasar por esta calle como a la 1 de la mañana y vaya, dije no, está tétrico. Ahora aquí a la vuelta tenemos lo que es el panteón municipal de aquí del municipio. Otra cosa que lo hace muy raro también, o sea, un terreno que está a un lado de un panteón, en una calle que es tétricamente oscura y a un lado de un cementerio. Miren, aquí tenemos el cementerio. Está raro. Les voy a ir subiendo partes de la historia para que ustedes puedan irse poniendo más en contexto, ¿vale? De igual manera les voy a subir después el video de cómo se ve de noche esa calle y cuando no quise pasar. Nos vemos.
As he walks, he pauses near the roadside undergrowth and finds a small makeshift memorial, a white cross wrapped in plastic, candles, fresh-turned dirt, dated to the 3rd of August. He's careful not to linger on it out of respect, but the implication lands hard. Someone died on this stretch of road, in nearly the same spot where he'd reported his own encounter months earlier. He walks further and turns the corner to reveal that this dark, unlit stretch runs directly alongside the municipal cemetery, the Pantheon Municipal, its white archway and iron gate visible just ahead. He says the road gets, in his words, grimly dark at night, with no streetlights on this particular section, and that a lot of people in the area talk about this street. Whether the death on that road and the earlier sighting are connected is a question he leaves open, but he makes clear he's planning to return with more footage. The final clip in this set brings everything back inside their home, this time at 3:10 in the morning, after the man and his wife are woken by knocking on the door. Watch.
Hey Google, ¿qué hora es?
Son las 3:10 de la mañana.
Nada, amor, nada.
He gets out of bed, moves through the house toward the front door, and through its frosted glass panels he sees it, a dark, human-shaped silhouette standing completely still on the other side. He fumbles with his keys, shaking, and when he pulls the door open, there is nothing there. He checks the outdoor corridor, scans the space, and finds no one. His cat watches him from the kitchen floor. The smart speaker confirms the time. His wife, awake now, tells him quietly it's nothing. But the figure through that glass was unmistakable, still human in shape, and gone without a sound. No footsteps outside, no second door opening, no explanation for where it went. Across all 5 of these clips, the same thread keeps surfacing, something appearing where it shouldn't be, witnessed by children and adults alike, always just out of reach of confirmation, and always in the one room, or the one stretch of road, or the one doorway that everyone in the house already knows to avoid. The following video was recorded by a man in Virginia who'd been noticing strange things happening inside his shed. Strange enough that he set up a Ring security camera in there to try to catch something on film. The shed itself is cluttered with tools, old boxes, and years of accumulated junk. The kind of space that's easy to ignore until it starts ignoring you back. The camera is mounted high in a corner, looking down over the whole room, and on the afternoon of April 19th of 2026, at around 4:26 p.m., nobody is inside. Nobody visible, anyway. A door at the back of the room is closed, the floor is still, and then it isn't. Watch.
Man, look at this.
What unfolds over the next few minutes is one of the densest collections of unexplained activity caught on a single static camera in recent memory. A door swinging open on its own, loud thuds and heavy dragging sounds filling the room with no visible source. A ball rolling out of the open doorway and stopping dead. A wooden shelf crashing to the floor, and then, most disturbingly, being lifted back up and out of frame against gravity. And then there's the music. Old-fashioned, tinny, with a female vocalist, faint at first, then growing steadily louder, as though something is physically walking it closer to the camera's microphone, right up until a sharp pop is heard, and something lets out a high-pitched cry of pain. When the man Yeed enters the shed to investigate, you can hear how shaken he is, breathing heavy, voice cracking, yelling into the dark attic above him, and getting nothing back. What he finds up there doesn't answer anything. Broken nameplates reading Mr. and Mrs. Ronald J. with the surname snapped clean off, a shattered Rolex-style watch, shot glasses etched with the logo of Sweetbriar College, a women's-only institution here in Virginia, all of it belonging to someone else, someone whose connection to this shed he can't explain. Many viewers think what's captured here is classic poltergeist behavior, not a haunting tied to a location so much as an intelligence that interacts with physical objects, creates sound, and seems capable of responding to the presence of a camera. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research is often described as kinetic, loud, and escalating, the kind of presence that doesn't hide but performs. Others think the objects found in the attic matter more than the activity itself, that whoever Ronald J. was, something tied to him, or to whoever he shared that nameplate with, hasn't fully left the space. The shelf being lifted back up is the detail that's hardest to walk away from. Things fall, that's physics, but whatever pulled that shelf back up wasn't working with gravity, it was working against it. So what exactly is living in that shed with him, and does it know he's looking? Now, in this next clip, a group of friends decide to explore the darker parts of the building they're staying in at 4:15 in the morning. What starts as a casual, laughing walkthrough of a dark office space slowly shifts into something far more unsettling. The man filming leads his two friends through room after room, trying locked doors, peering into a cluttered storage area, and eventually unlatching a back door that opens into complete darkness outside. The mood is still light. They're joking, whispering, shining a phone flashlight into corners until they saw something terrifying. Watch.
May pitu, may pagi. May pagi, may pitu, may kita tengok, may kita tengok. Buka lampu, Pi. Nak guguk, babi. Buka lampu. Mari sini, Pi. Macam ada orang tu. Allah, lampu pula tutup. Ya, babi tu. Bodoh. Dia tinggal aku pun bodoh. Macam babi tinggal aku. Lampu tutup pula. Ruang ketang, ruang jiluan. Bodoh. Bimbang. Biar. Tak pasal pipi. Biar. Ya. Tak orang tu. Tak sini gelap dia. Allah Akbar. Bodoh. Ya Allah. Bodoh. Babi gugah ya Allah. Allahu Akbar.
If you look closely, there's a figure, and according to the guys, it's a pokong. Near the edge of the darkness, a pale figure can briefly be seen motionless in the background. The group immediately reacts, and according to the men filming, what they saw was a pokong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malay folklore, believed to be the spirit of a dead person trapped inside their burial shroud. In traditional beliefs, the body of the deceased is wrapped tightly in white cloth before burial, with bindings around the head, neck, and feet. Legends claim that if the soul is unable to move on, the spirit may return in the same wrapped form, unable to walk normally, and often described as hopping or appearing stiff and motionless in dark places. Reports of pokong sightings are especially common near abandoned buildings, graveyards, and isolated roads late at night. Some viewers believe the figure was simply a person standing outside in the darkness. Others are convinced the reaction from the group was too immediate and genuine to be staged. But for those familiar with the legend of the pokong, the clip taps into a fear that has existed for generations. The following clip was recorded inside what appears to be a private collection room, floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves packed with hundreds of clown dolls, figurines, and ceramic pieces, a human-sized clown seated in a chair in the background, holding two smaller ones on its lap. The woman filming walks through the space calmly at first, taking it all in, until something just off-camera stops her cold. Watch.
Might do that. Are you a textual? Well, thank you. You see that? I did not.
She freezes mid-step, her expression shifting from neutral to wide-eyed shock, and she raises her palm outward like she's bracing against something invisible. Collections like this, especially ones centered around objects with human-like features, such as dolls or figurines, have long been tied to unsettling theories in paranormal folklore. Across multiple cultures, objects that resemble the human form are believed to act as vessels, not necessarily because something is placed into them intentionally, but because their likeness creates what some traditions describe as a spiritual anchor, something that makes it easier for unseen entities to attach themselves or manifest through them. Clown figures in particular tend to amplify that discomfort, not because of anything inherently supernatural about clowns themselves, but because their exaggerated expressions create a disconnect between emotion and appearance. Smiles that don't feel natural, eyes that seem fixed yet aware, making it easier for the human mind to interpret subtle changes as something more. The following video was recorded during a live stream session out of Columbiana, Alabama, in September of 2019, when three men were in the middle of a casual conversation about haunted artifacts, specifically about a trip one of them had taken to the Afterlife Museum in West Virginia, a place known for housing objects with dark histories. On the table in front of them sat two vintage baby dolls, brought out as part of the discussion. Nothing about the setup seemed alarming. The man on the right, joining remotely via video call, was mid-sentence describing what he'd seen at the museum. Death masks, haunted dolls, the kind of objects people warn you not to bring home. Watch.
Death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. Because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Screen. I didn't see. I missed it. Hey, I was just trying to see the head kind of wobble like it was trying to turn.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought brothers were playing with me.
Joe, you want to take that one home with you?
As long as it's temporary. They had death masks. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they kept the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
And we're going to build a museum on it.
That'll be cool.
It's going to be a haunted museum and a Bigfoot museum, artifacts, and for storytelling and that kind of stuff.
Right. I had recently went up to West Virginia to the what was it called? The Afterlife Museum. The archive of the Afterlife Museum. That place was really interesting. They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they got the chair. I mean, it was bizarre, and I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. Because I thought it was my eyes.
I did really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
The head of the dolls were slowly moving. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the man on the call admits he noticed the movement 20 seconds earlier and chose to ignore it, telling himself it was his eyes playing tricks. Both men react simultaneously and independently, which is exactly the kind of detail skeptics struggle to explain away. Some believe objects that have passed through environments like the Afterlife Museum can carry residual energy, absorbing something from the people and places they've been around. Others think the doll may have been responding to the conversation itself. If you watch the replay closely, you'll notice the right doll also shifts slightly at the same moment. So what exactly set it off? The following video was recorded on a home security camera set up in a living area, looking down a dark hallway toward a closed white door. The house appears quiet, no one moving, no lights on, nothing out of the ordinary by any visible measure. And then, fairly early in the footage, something changes. Watch. Some viewers think the figure is a camera artifact, a long exposure glitch layered over the original feed. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the object moving independently happens in the same footage, and that kind of pairing, a visual apparition followed by physical movement, is something that keeps showing up in home security cases like this one. Whether the movements in this clip were caused by vibration, an unseen draft, a camera illusion, or something else entirely remains unclear. But moments like this are exactly why ordinary security footage so often ends up at the center of paranormal debates online. Now, in this next clip, a man wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on his basement stairs. Not once, not twice, but over and over for nearly 10 minutes straight. What makes this especially unsettling is that he thought it was over. Earlier that week, he'd visited a cemetery, and after that, every bit of activity in his home had gone completely quiet. He believed whatever had been following him had returned to where it came from. He was wrong, so he grabs his flashlight and starts moving through the dark house, narrating as he goes, clearly shaken. Watch.
Alright, so I was woken up this morning to the sound of walking up and down my basement stairs again. It was over and over and over for probably 10 minutes straight. It was just walking up and down the basement stairs. Now, this is the first any type of activity I've had in the last week. Now, I opened the cemetery up on Monday, and since then I've had absolutely no activity here at home. So I thought that whatever followed me, or whatever it was, returned to the cemetery, and that was it. But like I said, I woke up to, the back door's locked. All the windows are locked. Stairs again. So I don't know. I don't know.
While he's mid-sentence, a loud crash cuts him off. A green shaker bottle now on the kitchen floor, with no one near it. He picks it up, hands unsteady, breathing heavy, and just says, "I don't know," over and over. You can hear the defeat in his voice. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, objects displaced by an unseen force as a direct response to the witness's presence. Others think whatever came back from that cemetery didn't come alone. But what do you think? The following clip was recorded by a man somewhere in Carrollsville, late at night and in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. He's parked in his Jeep outside a building near a gas station when something across the street stops him cold. According to him, whatever it was had already been there when he first noticed it. Pale and vaguely humanoid, standing in the rain near the pumps. He gets out of the car, which, honestly, most people would never do. And the moment he does, something shifts. The temperature of the whole situation changes. Watch.
Oh my God. What the f do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, please.
That figure in white, standing across the road in the dark and the rain, doesn't move the way anything should. And then the sound starts. A high-pitched, wavering wail that doesn't match any emergency siren, any car alarm, anything you'd expect to hear outside a gas station at night. He screams at it, pleads with it, and eventually scrambles back into the Jeep just to get away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the final glance in his side mirror before he speeds off. The figure is now under the carport he just left, and it appears to be contorting. Some viewers familiar with Carroll County's long history of documented hauntings have pointed out that the region around Carrollsville has carried paranormal folklore for generations. Others focused on those sounds, that unnatural, layered wail, and suggested it's consistent with what some researchers call an intelligent haunting, where a presence doesn't just appear, but actively communicates through sound and proximity. Skeptics think the figure is a person in a raincoat, and the sounds are distorted road noise bleeding through the recording. But that doesn't explain why it followed him. Where exactly did it go? The following video was recorded in the Haunted Hobart, a hotel in Hobart, Australia, with a reputation for paranormal activity. And in October of 2021, a paranormal investigation team set up security cameras inside the building overnight, hoping to capture something they couldn't explain. What they got was 3 separate incidents, all caught on silent CCTV footage, all happening in the early morning hours when the building was completely empty. The man reviewing the footage describes himself as a skeptical person, which makes his reaction to what the cameras caught all the more worth paying attention to. The first 2 events happen at 5:53 a.m. No staff, no guests, nobody in the building. Watch.
A movement right there, and then it proceeds to go like up the stairs, but it could be someone, you know, just walking on the outside on our front porch right there, which is logically what it is, but it almost seems that the camera's kind of bending, and it bends the staircase a little bit, and then right after it goes to the top of the stairs, the hat seems to jump up before it falls off onto the ground and kind of rolls around. It's very weird. It's something I can't explain. Now, even weirder than that is the next day, that same woman came back in and she was wearing the same exact clothes, and which is fine. I'm not judging. Maybe she had some, you know, had a fun night. Maybe got it lucky. You know, she could have stayed somewhere close to here. You know, or maybe she lives there. Who knows? But she. How wacky this is. Like, what is she doing? She seems to be walking weird, and then she's like peeping back in. Like, how long was she out on the porch just like staring in after the video cuts off? It's wild. It was a bizarre thing. I don't know what's up with that lady, but more importantly, I don't know what's up with that hat. That's the most evidence I've seen of something, and I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. It was right in front of me as I'm talking to this woman. It was very weird. I can't explain it. Make up your own mind on what you think, and let me know. Thanks for watching.
From 2 separate camera angles focused on the staircase near the entrance area, a black hat resting on the stair railing suddenly falls to the floor without anyone near it. Moments before the movement, the footage appears to capture something unusual near the front entrance, a faint distortion near the doorway, and what some viewers believe looks like movement crossing near the staircase itself. What makes the clip unsettling is not just the hat falling, but the sequence leading up to it. Investigators reviewing the footage pointed out that the distortion appears seconds before the object moves, almost as if something invisible passed through the area first. But according to the team, the strangest part came the next day. The woman connected to the hat incident reportedly returned to the hotel wearing the exact same clothes she had on the previous night. Staff members later claimed her behavior immediately stood out. For several minutes, she allegedly stood staring silently at a wall without reacting to anyone around her. She then began making bizarre comments to both employees and customers, including repeatedly talking about eating dog food, before wandering through the building acting disoriented and suspicious. Paranormal researchers sometimes associate this kind of behavior with locations believed to have lingering spiritual activity. especially in places where repeated reports of apparitions, distortions, or object movement have already been documented. In many cases, investigators describe witnesses becoming unusually fixated, detached, or emotionally altered after experiencing unexplained events inside allegedly haunted environments. Whether the woman's behavior was connected to what the cameras captured remains unknown, but for many viewers, the combination of the distortion near the staircase, the unexplained movement of the hat, and the woman returning the following day behaving strangely has made this one of the more unsettling pieces of footage connected to haunted Hobart. The following clips were both captured by security cameras inside what appears to be the same home, both in the early morning hours, and both involve something that seems to be paying very close attention to a sleeping baby. In the first clip, the timestamp reads, just after 1:30 in the morning on March 25th of 2023. The footage is in grayscale night vision, filmed from a high corner angle looking down at a bedroom. A large bed sits in the center of the frame, and to its left, a baby's crib with a small form tucked inside. The room is still. The door to the left of the crib is slightly ajar, and for the first 20 seconds or so, nothing moves. Then it got worse. Watch. The bedroom door slowly begins to move on its own, opening wider before shifting back again, despite no one appearing anywhere near it. But according to the family, this wasn't the only incident. In a second clip, recorded on a separate night in April of 2019, at approximately 5:20 in the morning, another camera positioned directly above a bassinet captures something else entirely. Watch carefully. A teddy bear placed near the baby begins to move on its own. The motion is slow and deliberate, with the toy shifting position while nothing else in the frame appears disturbed. No hands enter the shot. No one approaches the crib. The room remains otherwise completely still. What unsettles many viewers is the pattern between the two recordings. In both clips, the activity centers around the child's sleeping area, almost as if whatever is present is drawn toward the crib itself. Some paranormal researchers point to old stories involving watchers, entities said to linger silently near sleeping children, often first noticed through subtle environmental changes like moving doors, shifting objects, or unexplained sounds during the early hours of the morning. Whether the two incidents are connected is impossible to know. But for many viewers, the idea that both cameras captured unexplained activity centered around the same baby is what makes the footage difficult to forget. In this next clip, a man claims he had finally decided to leave his house after days of experiencing what he described as unbearable activity inside the home. Hoping to get away from whatever had been disturbing him, he temporarily stayed somewhere else. But according to him, the activity didn't stop when he left. It followed him. Watch closely.
Algo está sonando en el cuarto. Creo que es la cama.
While filming inside the room, the man lifts the comforter slightly and points the camera toward the space beneath the bed. For a brief moment, a pair of pale, bare feet can be seen. Skeptics argue that someone could simply have been hiding underneath, a child, a friend, or someone playing a prank. But according to the man filming, when he looked again moments later, there was no one there. What unsettled many viewers even more was the folklore some people connected to the footage afterward. In parts of Latin American paranormal tradition, there are stories of childlike entities said to appear inside homes, often partially hidden beneath beds, in corners, or just outside direct view. Some compared the figure to legends surrounding La Niña de las Sombras, translated loosely as the Shadow Girl, a spirit described in online folklore as appearing silently inside domestic spaces before gradually becoming more aggressive over time. Others connected it to stories associated with La Llorona, where sightings involving children or crying voices are believed to signal a lingering supernatural presence inside the home. But according to the man, the encounter didn't end there. After several more days of disturbances, he decided to place a Bible near the exact spot where he claimed he first saw the feet. Then, during the early hours of the morning, he says he heard a voice telling him to look underneath it, so he started recording again. The same pale feet and lower legs appear beneath the object once more, but this time, the footage captures something else alongside it, a whisper repeating a single word in Spanish, ayuda, which means help. What makes the clip especially disturbing to some viewers is the implication behind the voice. In many paranormal traditions, entities that imitate children are often described as deceptive, using cries for help or weak voices to draw attention and lower fear before escalating activity further. We can only hope that's not the case here. The following clips were recorded inside what appears to be an abandoned commercial space, a former retail unit with unfinished walls, exposed ductwork, and the kind of industrial silence that makes every small sound feel wrong. The man filming had been exploring the location and decided to leave a static camera running in one of the darker rooms, stepping back to let it record on its own. For a stretch, nothing happens, just a faint ambient hum and the stillness of an empty space. Then it got worse. Watch. What you just heard wasn't a single knock or a creak. It was a violent, rapid barrage of metallic crashes and bangs, like heavy metal racks or poles being hurled against a wall in quick succession, all with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The room was empty. No one was there. When he goes back in with a flashlight to investigate, he finds the ceiling torn open near an access hatch, damaged in a way that raises more questions than it answers. Some believe what was captured is consistent with poltergeist-type activity, a term used to describe disturbances characterized not by visual apparitions, but by aggressive, physical, or auditory force, sounds and movement without an obvious agent. The second clip picks up in a similarly dark, confined space, this time a cluttered crawl space or attic area, accessed through a panel in a low ceiling. Watch. If you look closely, something like a human hand is still for a moment before suddenly moving. The reaction from viewers was immediate. Some believe there may have been a person trapped somewhere inside the space. Others think the movement looked unnatural, especially given how motionless the hand remained beforehand. What makes the clip disturbing is the uncertainty. The camera never stays long enough to reveal what the hand is attached to, or whether something was actually hiding deeper inside the crawl space the entire time. Now, in this next clip, a man with no named introduction documents something he found on the wall of his house. A faint, smudgy impression sitting high up on a plain tan wall, shaped unmistakably like a small hand. Watch.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try and get...
Okay, come over this way.
Okay, because it's like you can't see it, and then suddenly it's there. And there's no way any... Ooh, there's an ant walking across the street. But there is no way anybody could physically get there.
Well, considering you look, and there's the stairs, this thing is 6 feet above the stairway.
Somebody would have to be, okay. And there's a wall here.
Zoom in on me. I mean, look at this, okay? I'm standing on the stairs, for Christ's sakes.
And there's the hand.
You got 8-10 feet.
And you can only see it at certain angles. But there is no way anybody could have gotten that handprint there. It's physically impossible. And it wasn't there a couple days ago.
No, that is screwy. We gotta put that out and ask people about it. I mean, that's just, you can't do that.
I mean, I'm gonna...
And that is the left hand.
Yeah.
That's the left hand, so we're talking
somebody would have
on the stairs, you're looking at...
That... Okay, there's no way.
You're like 15, 20 feet in the...
Yeah, there is no way somebody... Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still sitting there. I can see it clear as day.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit.
You're talking 15, 20 feet in the air for somebody to put a handprint there.
And we had the place painted recently, but it is not, it was not there. I know it was not there.
So Cricket was sensing something today.
Well, it was weird because she kept freaking out all day.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this thing appears. Wait, come back. I want to show. Okay, there's you trying to reach up to where it is. So even if you stood on the stairs, can you move up a little bit? So even if you stood on the stairs, because there's the handprint, you can't reach it. And you're over 6 feet. There's no way. Okay. And Amethyst has been acting really weird today too.
Well, I'm coming down to deal with her.
Okay.
That handprint sits too high for a child to reach casually, and the shape, a distinct palm with finger smudges fanning outward, isn't the kind of thing that just appears on a painted wall without explanation. Some believe impressions like this are residual contact, a spirit pressing through from the other side and leaving a physical trace behind. Others think it could point to a child's presence, which paranormal investigators often describe as among the most emotionally charged and difficult to dismiss. You can see why he kept coming back to it. Whatever left that mark apparently had somewhere to be, right at the top of those stairs. The following videos were captured by a woman who's been documenting what she calls her poltergeist diaries, a series of increasingly unsettling encounters happening at her workplace, an office she now refers to as anything but ordinary. She'd been sharing updates with her followers, building a record of small, creeping strangeness, and in this first clip, she's filming late, alone, moving through the building with her phone out when she notices something down the hallway near the break room. Watch.
So, y'all have been following my polter diaries here lately. So I'm pretty sure there's something standing in the doorway to the break room. Am I crazy? Or is that somebody standing there? Do y'all see that?
The camera peers around the edge of a dark, reflective surface and catches a tall, thin shape standing completely still at the far end of the dimly lit hallway, and her reaction says everything. Her voice drops from calm narration to a terrified whisper, before she lets out a raw, piercing scream and the footage cuts off. Whether that shape was a chair, a pedestal, or something else entirely, her scream wasn't performed. Some viewers insisted it was just office furniture catching the light wrong, while others pointed out that the object doesn't have the softened edges or visible legs you'd expect from a chair. It just stands there, occupying the frame like it belongs. That's what makes it hard to dismiss. Not long after that clip circulated, followers began asking whether the lights in that hallway were connected to anything, wondering if she'd somehow triggered them herself. She came back with a direct answer. Watch.
So, since y'all thought I was doing the lights, let me show you these. This one does nothing. This one turns on this extra light. So,
she flips both switches on the wall, one by one, demonstrating clearly that neither controls the bright stationary light glowing in the dark hallway behind her. The fluorescent ceiling lights respond to the second switch, but that orb-like light sits untouched, unchanging, against the dark blue wall. Some viewers immediately suggested it was a security light or an exit sign on a separate circuit. Others weren't convinced, pointing out that the light's intensity and position don't match anything typically mounted in an office corridor, and that she didn't seem to know what it was either, ending the clip with a flat, exhausted "so," as if the demonstration raised more questions than it answered. She'd also mentioned she'd stopped working alone in that building after everything that happened, which brings us to her next update. She returned to the office with a coworker, hoping the company would make whatever was happening stop. Everything had been quiet. Watch.
Hey guys, this is just an update to let you all know that I'm okay. I'm back at work today, but I'm no longer working by myself. I have someone here with me. Everything's been fine so far. We haven't had anything today, so... And here we go. What was that? What? It came from the hallway. Oh my god. No. Oh my god.
Right in the middle of her calm update, mid-sentence in fact, an explosively loud bang erupts from the hallway, violent and metallic, and both women react instantly. She moves toward the doorway and peers down the long, empty, brightly lit corridor. Nothing, no one, no visible source for a sound that loud. Two people heard the same thing, and neither of them could explain it. Some researchers who study poltergeist activity describe this kind of escalation, from visual anomalies to unexplained sounds, as a pattern of intensifying engagement, as though whatever presence exists in a space begins responding more forcefully when it feels observed. What would you do if the hallway you just cleared came back that loud? Now, in this next clip, a man is moving through his house at night, phone in hand, when the space around him starts doing things that have no easy explanation. It's unclear exactly what brought him to this part of the house, but from the moment he pushes shut a large panel on the wall, something shifts in the energy of the place, and it doesn't stop there. Almost immediately after that panel slams shut with a loud bang, something catches his attention. Watch. A soccer ball rolls across the floor completely on its own. He barely has time to process that before panning down a long, dark hallway where a small, pale figure in a white gown steps out from the corner. The moment he sees it, he hears a high-pitched, distorted child's laugh that sounds just slightly off from anything natural. Many investigators warn that childlike apparitions aren't always what they seem. Some believe darker entities imitate children because people instinctively lower their guard around them, making the encounter feel less threatening, at least at first. Despite every instinct telling him to leave, he walks toward the figure, which, if you ask most people, is the last thing you should do. When he reaches the first door and tries the handle, it's locked, and the moment he pulls his hand back, a deep, grating, scraping sound erupts from somewhere unseen, and the video cuts off. Across countless paranormal reports, investigators describe this as escalation, subtle movement giving way to visual manifestations, then direct interaction intended to provoke fear or curiosity. Whether that's what happened here is impossible to prove, but one thing is hard to ignore. Whatever was waiting at the end of that hallway never actually came toward him. It got him to come to it.